Hello, and welcome to my Enhancement Shaman guide. Today we're going to set a few goals for this lesson. By the end of this video, we want to understand the core mechanics that make up Enhancement Shaman, and we're going to employ a building block approach so that you learn the most basic step first, then move on to more information like building up a totem pole. You start at the bottom and move your way up to the top. Now, when we talk about Enhancement Shaman, I want you to think of it as Empowerment Shaman, because their rotation revolves around empowering other spells. Today, we will learn how Empowerment makes this spec very fun and engaging to play. We will learn how Feral Spirits is empowered by Chain Lightning and Crash Lightning, which in turn have their own feedback loop, and how it is all driven by Storm Strike. We will also understand how Lava Lash is empowered by Flame Shock and Primordial Wave, and how Lightning Bolt is empowered by Primordial Wave. I know that seems like a lot to take in, but we're going to take a deep breath and learn this together, you and me. So I want you to relax and take in as much as you can, and if necessary, rewatch the bits you're stuck on. So here we go together to explore Empowerment Shaman. So let's see how this rotation works. Down here we have our buffs, and up here we have our guide. And the rotation starts with Crash Lightning. And when you see this buff here, I want you to think Storm Strike. Here, I still have the buff. And let's get it again. Storm Strike. Ooh, I got another one. I have 6 seconds. Oh, it's going to be a close call. Oh, got a free one. Got another free one. Losing the buff. Get the buff. While I have the buff, Storm Strike. Seems pretty easy enough. So now we're going to grab Chain Lightning out of our toolkit here and put this into our rotation. So our first step is getting Crash Lightning buff. We've got that. Now we're going to Storm Strike. But what's this do? Chain Lightning reduces the cooldown of Crash Lightning. So it's gone. Let's get it back up. Storm Strike. It appears I can't do that every time though. And that's because I need 5 or more stacks of Maelstrom for Chain Lightning to be instant. That might sound like a lot, but let's just keep going. We need our buff Crash Lightning. Got our buff. Storm Strike. Reduce cooldown. Okay. Well, we still have 5 seconds, so let's do another Storm Strike. It's gone. Storm Strike, and then Chain Lightning. So we're looking at 2 different things here. We're looking at Maelstrom stacks, and we're also looking at using Crash Lightning debuff. So those are 2 things we're kind of trying to keep track of at the same time. So again, we'll get the buff. Storm Strike. Reduce cooldown. Okay. We have the buff, so we don't really need it right now. So let's Storm Strike. And let's just see how this plays out. And pay attention to the Storm Strike debuff, which is that right there. And this reducing the cooldown, meaning there's more than 5 stacks of Maelstrom. Now, I turned into a big wind guy, but don't let that distract you. There's the buff. Now, I don't want to use the buff now. I want to use the Storm Strike first. Now we can reduce its cooldown. So you can use Chain Lightning to reduce its cooldown anytime you have more than 5 stacks of Maelstrom. Okay. So now let's look at the second layer of what Shaman is. So you'll notice up here we have our second major layer of the spec, and it revolves around feral spirits, and they're just dogs when you shoot them out. And it's a 1.5 minute cooldown, but let's pay attention to that cooldown as we do our normal rotation. We'll get our buff, Storm Strike until we can't, and then Chain Lightning to reduce the cooldown of the buff. Oh, we're at 30 seconds now. And it's back up again. Huh, so we can use it again. And let's keep on with our rotation, focusing on this buff. We're trying to squeeze as many Storm Strikes as we can into that Crash Lightning window. Well, it appears that we can take Feral Spirit and put it into our rotation here. And that will essentially get rid of this and this as well. So now we're on our second layer of having Feral Spirits as your first priority, and then just do your rotation. Okay, it's getting a little bit faster pace now. So let's take a deep breath. You're halfway there. The other part is how Flame Shock works. And Flame Shock is this guy right here. And we can put it on this guy. And it's this debuff that just burns him. But if we Lava Lash right after that, we will spread that dot to everybody, which is pretty handy. So we've got Lava Lash back up, and we still have Flame Strike on everyone, and we're going to Lava Lash again. You see what happened? We renewed that dot on everyone. So once we put Flame Shock on someone, we can just keep renewing it with Lava Lash. So let's bring that into our toolkit here. So just like Flame Shock, Primordial Wave also applies Flame Shock, but it also empowers your Lightning Bolt. So what we'll do is we'll Primordial Wave them, get the Flame Shock, spread the Flame Shock, and use Lightning Bolt. And you see it hit them all three of these guys. So now we have 90% of our toolkit complete. We've got our dogs here, we've got Storm Strike, we've got Crash Lightning, Chain Lightning, Primordial Wave, Lava Lash, Flame Shock, and Lightning Bolt. So we're going to play a little game. When would I use Crash Lightning? Well, all the time, right? You always want this buff up. When would I use Chain Lightning? Well, I would use Chain Lightning when I have 5 stacks of Maelstrom. That way it reduces the cooldown of Crash Lightning. When would I use Storm Strike? All the time. When would I use Feral Spirits? Every time it's off cooldown. Let me ask you this. What order of spells would I have to cast after Primordial Wave? Well, we know it has Flame Strike, or Flame Shock, so we would put Flame Shock on, and then Lava Lash to spread it, and use an empowered Lightning Bolt to AoE everyone. So Shaman has lots of totems, and one of the totems that you're going to use every 30 yards or every other pack or so is going to be Wind Fury Totem. I didn't use Wind Fury Totem while I was showing you the rotation because Wind Fury Totem basically makes this whole system operate faster. Like the conveyor belt's moving a little bit quicker when you've got Wind Fury Totem down. Also, you'll get more procs and more damage if you have your Wind Fury weapon on as well as your Flame Tongue weapon on. Your shields are Lightning Shield and Earth Shield. You'll also want to keep those on. So up here we have a Capacitor Totem, which is AoE stun. We also have Thunderstorm, another AoE stun, and Sundering, which is also another AoE stun, but this is one that you're going to want to incorporate into your AoE rotation. This is Stone Skin Totem. This is helpful on those times where the group is receiving big damage and you want to play your part and help keep people safe. This is Chain Heal, and Chain Heal, I want to show you something. I'm gonna get 5 stacks of Maelstrom, and Chain Heal is affected just like Chain Lightning is. So if I had to, instead of Chain Lightning, I could Chain Heal and it would be instant. So that's Chain Heal. This is Nature's Swiftness, where it makes the next nature spell, like Chain Heal or Chain Lightning or Lightning, instant. This is Wind Shear, that's your interrupt. This is Tom, the Earth Elemental. He protects you for a minute. He will pull threat off the tank, so make sure you're not using it like whenever the tank is trying to position the boss, or maybe the tank is trying to do a line of sight pull. That's not a time to use Earth Elemental, but any other time outside of that is fine. This is Windrush Totem. You put it on the ground and it makes you speedy. Speaking of speedy, you have Ghost Wolf, where you can turn into a wolf. I have a glyph that makes me a fox. And you also have this here. This is a Gust of Wind, where you just go shooting forward. And you have Earthbind Totem, which slows people down. So let's see what this looks like all together. We'll need to make sure that we have our Wind Fury weapon and our Flame Tongue weapon on, our Lightning Shield and Earth Shield, and finally when we get to the mobs we're going to put Wind Fury Totem down. Our first priority is to spread some AoE around, so we're going to get our dogs out. We're going to Primordial Wave, which gives Flame Strike, and then we're going to spread it, and then we're going to zap them. Get our buff and work in our rotation. Lower the cooldown, buff, Storm Strike. Enhancement Shaman has a lot of moving parts. This spec is one I chose to help beginners learn the basics so that they can play Enhancement right away. There are other builds that work around Stormstrike, as well as builds that focus more on the fire side of things. But knowing what you learned here today will help translate into other spec variations you choose. I hope this has helped, and as always, thank you for your support and thank you for watching.